Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fast Money Football. It's Albert Vartanian here, joined by a special guest today, filling in for Sarah Pararia. It's Michael Singh. Mike, wow, what a game yesterday from Liverpool, beating Manchester United 4-0. How easy was that for Liverpool?
It was the easiest one-sided derby that I've ever witnessed. I mean, from the jump, Liverpool looked like the better side. I mean, evidenced by the early goal that they scored in that match, or the couple of goals, I guess you can say that they scored in that match, but it was absolute domination, and I've never seen a one-sided derby like that. It was too easy from all aspects. Manchester United they look worse than a team like Leeds or Everton or some of the bottom teams in the Premier League going up against Liverpool. At least those teams put up a fight. There was no fight among Manchester United players yesterday, and the end result was honestly well deserved by Liverpool.
Yeah, you know what? When I saw the Liverpool line -1.5, I think it was close to even money. I'm like, that could be the lock of the week, honestly, because Manchester United at the moment, Gary Neville said this after the game, one of the easier teams to play in the Premier League at the moment. After what I saw, at the weekend against Norwich were cutting through them, and that's a team that can't really score goals. I think they had 8 goals, 8 away goals heading into that game, and Norwich cut right through them. Obviously, Liverpool a lot more quality. So it's not a surprising result. It was just so surprising to how easy it was for Liverpool to cut right through them. Clearly, the gap between the two sides is a massive one. And Ralf Rangnick, Manchester United manager, after the game, he said this. He was asked how long it's going to take to bridge that gap. He goes, Liverpool only needed 2 or 3 transfer windows until they had a competitive team. If you know what you're looking for, it doesn't have to take 4 or 5 years. Do you think it'll take 2 or 3 transfer windows? Is it going to be that easy for Manchester United?
It should be, to be completely honest. I mean, this team it's one of the richest clubs in the world. It can attract world-class talent. It's done that for the past couple of transfer windows, but Ralph Rangnick's bang on. It wasn't really a team that had a clear identity. Under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you can kind of get the sense that they like playing off the counterattack. And that was probably the closest to old school Manchester United that we've seen. But now with yet another manager coming in to the fold, it's back to ground zero. And especially with this current crop of players, there doesn't look like there's a clear identity within this Manchester United team. And there's going to be a lot of changes that need to happen. I mean, you think about the midfield, the back line, the four, every position, except maybe say for goaltending, because you have De Gea in there who's actually playing with his heart on his sleeve. And I can't say that for many of the Manchester United players. You need to go back to the drawing board and get players who, like, not to take it back to the class of 93, but you need players like that who dive into a challenge because they love wearing the Manchester United shirt. I don't see that in this team, aside from someone like Scott McTominay. I don't see that from this team. So I do believe it is possible just because they have that financial flexibility and they have the still the brand power that is Manchester United. But there's going to be some wholesale changes that need to come, and it's going to be a rebuild. It's going to be a process.
Yeah, speaking about those Manchester United players, Ralf Rangnick also said there will be a rebuild here. 6, 7, maybe 10 players will come. So it's going to be a massive overhaul. I still think this is a couple seasons away. Yes, a couple transfer windows can really help the team, but it's all about good business and the players that you bring in. And, prior to this, they just announced that they fired, or I think Jim Lawler, who was their chief scout, has been let go or resigned. So it looks like there's going to be some sort of change at the top to get set for this rebuild. I just still think that it's the long way for Manchester United. If you got to get rid of that many players and bring in that many new players, it's a long process. These players need to click. It took Liverpool a while. I think in Jurgen Klopp's first season, he finished in 8th or 7th place. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's good business coupled with, hopefully you have the right people in place to make these players click. But let's look at Manchester United's next fixtures because there's some big ones coming up. Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, both play today up next for Manchester United. Honestly, Mike, I can't imagine United getting more than 1 point from either of those games.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you at this point based on what United have shown. But what I will say is both those teams, especially Arsenal, they've shown a tendency to kind of drop points where they shouldn't be dropping points.
Mhm.
Chelsea's been a little bit better, although since the new year they have been sort of sluggish there. They have looked like they've refound their footing and all might be well there at Stamford Bridge, but Arsenal's definitely susceptible to an upset, let's say. And it kills me to say that because you're talking about Manchester United, and it should never be in the light of an upset when you're facing a team like Arsenal, even Chelsea going up against them. Manchester United should be right there with them, if not even higher than them. So you're probably right by saying a point is generous at this point. But that being said, it's not necessarily greener on the other side.
Yeah, regardless of Manchester United's poor form, some way, somehow, they're still in the top four race. I look at the table, I'm like, how are they even there based on what's been going on? But they're in it. And here are the odds currently. Spurs are favorite minus 225, Arsenal plus 200. Behind them, United 12-1 plus 1200 to finish in the top four. Based on what we've seen and based on what you've seen from Manchester United, are they worth the bet here?
Based on what I've seen, no. But that being said, I mean, crazier things have happened in the Premier League, and at 12-1 odds, and as I mentioned, Arsenal is definitely susceptible to choking a little bit. Same with Tottenham. They've shown that they're not
All of them, Mikey.
invincible right now. So there's no guarantee, there's no lock for me into that top four. And if you get odds at 12-1, it might be worth just that that Hail Mary kind of bet where if Man United get hot down the stretch, that they have quality. Ronaldo comes back into the side. Can he lift this team back to a couple of victories? Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? And they have a match against Arsenal, like you said. So there is an opportunity for them to make ground. So it might be worth it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not laying the minus money on Tottenham. Arsenal plus 200, not enough juice there for me. United 12-1, probably the best money to throw on, best bang for your buck at the moment to finish in the top four. If you even want to bet for a team to get into the top four at the moment, Arsenal on 31 games, 2 games in hand on Manchester United. Spurs have played one less than United as well, 32 games, and that's one of the reasons why these odds look like the way that they look. But let's speak about Liverpool, top of the league. You know what? I think this is a very special team, Mike. Just 2 losses this season. It's not a team that's playing really well right now. This is a team that's playing really well for the past couple of years. The bookies at the moment, they have Liverpool as the underdog to lift the title, plus 162. City still favorite minus 200. But I can't be the only one that feels that Liverpool are actually the favorites here, the true favorites. Am I crazy?
It's a two horse race, obviously. Both of these sides are amazing sides. Liverpool obviously took the lead with the emphatic win against United yesterday, but it's only a 2-point lead with Man City going again against Brighton this week. So you're not crazy to say Liverpool's probably the better side when it comes down to things, but it's a pick 'em for me because these are the 2 top teams in the Premier League. Their team on their day can honestly beat any side, whether it is a Liverpool or a City. They can, if they're on their game, it's going to be coming down to them. So I like how the odds are so close, and that's kind of the way that I would probably go about this. I don't think there's enough for me to say there's one definitive favorite. It's going to be an exciting race to the end.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of chasing the plus money dog. So give me Liverpool to win the title. And listen, we got a Premier League Classic. We got the FA Cup semifinal. Then we potentially might have the Champions League final between these 2 teams. It's just been a fantastic season. But let's move on. Let's talk about Manchester City. They played today against Brighton, the Giant Killers, Mike, unbeaten in 3. Prior to that, they lost 6 in a row, but they go on to beat Arsenal and Spurs, both away, which is incredible just to say. Can they do it again today against Manchester City?
They definitely commanded plenty of respect, let's say, after those back-to-back wins against Arsenal and Tottenham. But as I mentioned, those are 2 teams that are definitely susceptible at times. Manchester City, not so much. This is a team that's desperate to respond after their FA Cup exit. And on top of that, they're watching the standings. They see what Liverpool did yesterday. And they're going to be hungry to make a statement, I believe, to remind people like you, Albert, that they're still here, that they're still technically the favorites right now to win the Premier League. So I think they'll have the motivation to get back to their winning ways. And on top of that, you're going to look at some fresh legs coming back into the mix for Pep Guardiola, who rotated his squad obviously over the weekend. So I think it'll just be too difficult a task to get past the reigning champions, which honestly is why Manchester City is favored so heavily. So for me, I don't see any value right now in betting Manchester City minus 550. You're throwing your money away. You're burning money. There's no real return on investment there. But what I do like actually is Brighton's one of the lowest scoring teams in the Premier League.
Right.
It took essentially a world-class goal for them to get on the scoreboard there against Tottenham. I say no to both teams scoring, so Brighton doesn't get on the score sheet, but I'm taking Manchester City here to make a statement and score over 2.5 goals today, and you can get that at plus 230. So Man City to keep the clean sheet and score at least 3 today at plus 230, and I say they do it. I say they make a statement, Albert.
Yeah, that's such an interesting bet. I've never seen that really. Both no to both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. Clearly, you're hoping for the 3 or 4-0. If you back City now, I think at minus 2.5, it's just, I think, like plus 110, maybe plus 20 in and around even money. So this is probably the way to go if you think United are going to keep the clean sheet, or Manchester City going to keep a clean sheet and score a few goals. So I'm with you on that. I think City win this game. I'm going to stay away from the winners market completely. But I do agree with you. City, I mean, they also have the head-to-head here over Brighton. 5-1 in the last 6 for Manchester City. Brighton haven't beat them at home, but I think we can expect goals. Listen to this one. Since taking the Brighton job, Graham Potter has conceded an average of 3 goals per 90 minutes, 20 goals in 6 games to Manchester City. So we can expect goals. I'm going to back a goal scorer, not just goals. Kevin De Bruyne, Mikey, plus 195. He's got 4 in his last 5, 11 this season. And he's just key right now to Manchester City. He was rested for the FA Cup semifinal. So he should be fresh for this one, probably slotted into that false 9. And when he plays in that position, he gets a ton of scoring chances. So I'm staying away from the market, even though I do think Manchester City will win. But Kevin De Bruyne to score plus 195. Let's go to another big one. This is top 4 implications, at least for Arsenal. Chelsea at home, minus 120 to Arsenal, plus 333. Arsenal haven't lost 4 in a row in the Premier League since 1995, Mike, but you think that actually might happen this time around?
I do. I do think so. And, Chelsea, typically, Arsenal's kind of their boogeyman team. For whatever reason, Arsenal in that dart, they get up for Chelsea games. And the difference maker for me in this one is probably going to come down to the squad depth. And squad depth is something we've been talking about for a very long time for this Chelsea team, at least this season. While Arsenal, they don't have it. It's been 29 years since Chelsea last suffered 3 consecutive defeats at Stamford Bridge in all competitions. That's a stat that's worthy of noting, especially heading into this fixture. And this is a team that they're left disappointed after some of their last outings, but I don't think they slip up as much as people might be expecting in this game, because I know a lot of people are kind of thinking Arsenal could be here to pull up the upset. I personally don't see it. I think this Chelsea squad has too much depth. You're going to see N'Golo Kante slot back into the midfield, which I believe is such a difference maker. Romelu Lukaku, he burned Arsenal earlier this season. Is there a chance for him to start and once again make a difference up top for Chelsea? There's a lot to play for in this one for both teams. I think Arsenal might be the more desperate team, but that being said, I think Chelsea want to get back to sort of their winning ways ASAP.
Yeah, scoring issues, really big issue for Arsenal at the moment. 2 goals in the last 5. And listen to this one, Mikey. 15 games since one of Arsenal's strikers last scored a goal from open play in the Premier League. And now with these issues with Alexander Lacazette essentially not wanting to play for the club, saying he wants to play in the Champions League, so he's open to a move. Saying it at this moment in time, during the season is not going to help them. If he's not going to play, even though he is available, but if he's not going to play, you're going to put up there Eddie Nketiah to try and score goals against Chelsea, a team that, doesn't concede very many goals. 23 allowed this season, which I think is in the top 3 of the Premier League, just behind Man City and Liverpool. I think Arsenal have real issues here with their scoring. And on the injury front, what's really hurt them, no Kieran Tierney, he's out. Thomas Partey as well in the midfield, who is key to that team. He makes that team tick. He's gone as well. I'm with you. I don't think you complicate this one when it comes to the betting. If you can get Chelsea at minus 120, I know at some books you can get them at minus 110, even closer to even money. That's the bet for me, and I think it's a no-brainer, especially at Stamford Bridge. And you're mentioning the last time they lost 3 games in a row was 29 years ago. All signs point towards Chelsea, Mike.
They do, and you look at Arsenal now, the teams that they've recently lost against, someone like a Crystal Palace, a Brighton, Southampton. You're going into Chelsea now, which is a different type of breed, a different type of animal than those teams, and you're going to be missing some key players as well. As you said, I don't think you overthink this one. I think Chelsea just simply finds a way to take care of business, and I think back to that Manchester United-Liverpool game where United were just so clearly outclassed. I think that's what we'll see today with Chelsea and Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm with you. So we're back in Chelsea on the money line. I also like Chelsea plus the under 2.5. That covers a 1-0, 2-0 plus 261. Pretty good value there. But if you think Arsenal is going to score, stay away from that and stick to the money line. I just want to throw in one more bet here. Mason Mount to score at the moment is plus 280. The guy's on fire. 4 goals, 2 assists in his last 3. He's another player that makes things tick for Chelsea. So if you're looking at the goal scorer market, Mason Mount. Also, make sure that he's in the starting lineup before you make that bet. To the next game, big one. At the bottom of the table, Everton plus 130 at home to Leicester plus 210. Mike, crucial match for Everton. You like them, but how? Can you put your hard-earned parlay money on Frank Lampard's Everton team, Mike?
Hey, the last time Everton took the pitch, they let everyone know that they're still fighting for their lives here. They took care of business against Manchester United, and they've actually been pretty good at Goodison. On the other side, you have a Leicester team that has been one of the worst teams in the Premier League away from home.
Yeah.
There's actually only 4 sides in the league that have performed worse than the Foxes away from home in the Premier League this season. They've won just 1 of their last 10 games in top flight in away from home, keeping just 1 clean sheet away from home all season. So this is a team that, while sure, they definitely possess more quality than Everton, I think Everton have a little bit more to fight for here. I think Leicester City kind of took a hit, and they're kind of set in 9th place right now out of sort of the Europa League battle. Whereas Everton, as I mentioned, they're fighting that relegation battle, and they've seemed to gain some momentum. So while Lampard, he got his lengthy period to gear up his side for this battle.
Yeah.
And they've got the whole week off, and they're full of confidence, as I mentioned, after getting the better of Manchester United. So I say the Foxes don't get it done there at Goodison Park, and I like Everton to pick up the upset.
Yeah, win here will put them 6 points above the drop, and teams below them doing them favors, specifically Burnley sacking Sean Dyche at this point. That is the nail in the coffin for Burnley, and I think Everton need to capitalize on that. I'm with you, though. I get it. At Goodison Park, those fans, they're going to be the difference, I think, for Everton going down or staying up. The games at home is where they need to win. And 9 points from a possible 15 available since taking charge, Frank Lampard, at Goodison Park. So, like you said, I'm with you. I think Everton have the slight edge here. I don't have it in me to back them based on what I've seen so far. If they go down a goal, I just don't know if they have the resolve to bounce back and come back and win that game. But as for Leicester, yeah, you're right. I mean, 9th in the Premier League, 40 points, they're safe. And I think they have their eye on other commitments, specifically the Europa Conference League semifinal coming up against Roma. So you're Everton plus 130. Decent odds for a team that's at home and needs to win against Leicester City, who also concede a lot of goals. But this is a complete stay away from me in terms of the betting market. But if you had me to choose, I'd probably go Everton plus 130. Finally, let's get to this one quickly. Newcastle plus 135 at home to Crystal Palace plus 210. 2 teams with really nothing to play for. Both safe. I know Eddie Howe wants to get a few more points for Newcastle. but they're going to be safe. This one at home, who do you like here, Mike?
Well, I think both teams honestly still want to get into the top 10. I think both teams are kind of eyeing that. These are teams that are right next to each other in the standings, and it's not out of the question that either one of these teams gets really hot here down the stretch and goes on to crack that top 10.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm looking at Newcastle. I know it's maybe a little bit surprising based on the way that Newcastle started this season, but they're a different beast at St. James's Park.
Yeah.
And I do believe that they'll outlast Crystal Palace here with a victory. Eddie's Howe's team, they become a juggernaut. They're at home. Their dramatic 2-1 victory over Leicester City on Sunday was their fifth win in a row at home. And they're going to be home once again today. I think they get it done.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's crazy how much they've turned that around. And that was, I questioned what they were going to do. Once that new ownership came in, I'm like, yeah, okay, you can throw money at whatever you want. Doesn't mean, the results are going to come. But I mean, they bought themselves out of relegation. And now moving forward, let's see what they can do. They want to be a top 6, top 4 team within the next couple of seasons. And if you have the money and the right recruitment, something that Manchester United want to do. See how we come full circle on this show? I think Newcastle are going to be some sort of a threat moving forward. I'm staying away from the winners market here. I will say this. I'm a huge fan of Palace. I have been all season. Unlucky that they weren't able to beat Chelsea in the FA Cup semifinal. No Conor Gallagher because he was on loan from Chelsea. That is a whole nother conversation we could save for a show. Staying away from the winners market. How about this, Mike? Both teams to score plus over 2.5, plus 170. I think both these teams, like I mentioned, they're safe, so they can go for it. They can go at it, and both teams can score goals at the moment.
Yeah, you're bang on. And I like that Newcastle's new signing there, Bruno Guimaraes, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Guimaraes, exactly. I gotta get back on that because this guy is gonna be a name you're gonna want to remember in the Premier League. It looks like he's come in and made a statement. He scored a pair of goals in their 2-1 win over Leicester, but it's not necessarily his goals that stand out to me. It's his overall play in the midfield, controlling the midfield, and that's a player that Newcastle is desperately needed. On the other hand, as you mentioned, Conor Gallagher back into the mix now for Crystal Palace. Wilfred Zaha is still up top for that team. They still have both teams still have a lot of firepower, and as you said, I think this one could be a goal fest. So I do like that bet, Albert.
And look at Newcastle. I mean, they're doing it without Kieran Trippier, who came in and really changed that team. Then he got injured. Callum Wilson, their top scorer for a long time. He's been out for a while. Once you plug those two players back in, this is a mid-table top 10 team easily. So I like the direction that they're going. Good manager for Newcastle. On the Palace side, like you said, I mean, they got goal scorers. Mateta's scoring, Edouard's scoring, Zaha's scoring. This Michael Olise kid looks unbelievable. He's not going to stay at Palace much longer.
No, not at all. And as you mentioned, the depth there, even just their defense and their midfield is so solid. And then you have someone like a Nathaniel Klein chipping in and getting up the wing there for Palace, just giving them quality from front to back. And they're one of the more likable teams in the Premier League. And I think it's for that reason, which we've kind of touched on, is that they like to play that run and gun kind of style, is that they'll burn you off the counter attack, or they have the ability to pick you apart if you are dropping deep. So I think they're one of the funner teams to watch, which will make for an entertaining game that we are expecting, however, a lot of goals in this one.
Yeah, let's make some money today. And then not to mention for Crystal Palace, 2 England call-ups as well. So doing a lot of good things over there. But that's it for us here at Fast Money Football. Guys, please follow Michael Singh on Twitter. At Michael Singh 94 is his Twitter handle. I'm at TheRealBertV. And as always, please head over to parlay.tv for more parlay content. Good luck today.